Hello, this is Hermetic Hipster and welcome to my channel. First, a huge thanks to all who've been supported the Storyteller's Vault project on Patreon. I already have 2 Traditions art pieces being bought, as well as some people actually donating art to be used in the book, and I really couldn't be more grateful. If you want to see some of the behind the scenes stuff for the project, you can just follow the links below to the Patreon and you can subscribe for as cheaply as $1 a month. All money donated from the Patreon will go directly into funding the book, so any support you can show is hugely appreciated. So I wanted to do slightly shorter and more regular videos, and user Anton Smilevsky, I hope I'm saying that right, had a great suggestion of wanting ideas for how to use paradox in games of Mage. Paradox, quiet and backlashes are extremely important for Mage, and when I played, I will admit to actually really looking forward to my character's backlashes, as they often prove to be really fun, but also serve to provide some consequences for reckless use of vulgar magic and provide options for character growth. So what are backlashes, paradox and quiet, and how do they interact? Paradox is simply the name given to reality and the consensus, lashing back at your will worker for pushing their magic too far. And if you create too much, you will experience a backlash, and reality will correct itself to your mage's detriment. It can often be seen in the form of a spell going wrong, an explosion of magical energy, or even a physical or mental flaw manifesting on your mage. One of the most insidious and scary effects of a backlash is quiet, a magical insanity that changes how your will worker will perceive reality. It comes in 3 forms that largely correlate to the magical triad. For those who don't know, the mystical triad is a theme that runs through a lot of the world of darkness, most obviously in Werewolf, but also in Mage the Ascension, with stasis, dynamism and entropy having a variety of personas. The Marauders, Technocracy and Nephondi loosely correlate to this triad. Madness is the quiet of dynamism, or the Gyru's wild. This form of madness is where most Marauders come from, and sees your mage lose grip on reality, experiencing waking hallucinations, sudden mood swings, and at high levels spontaneously manifesting elements of their own personal reality into the real world. Stasis is almost the opposite, and you begin shutting out anything that doesn't fit into your own ideas about the real world, even denying evidence of your own eyes. It's thought that much of the technocratic union suffer from varying levels of this madness, and a stoic iron drive to enforce your own blinkered view of reality upon the world is its hallmark. Jaw is the madness of entropy, and the most sinister. This again loosely fits with one of the tradition's main enemies, the Nephondi, who wish for an entropy of life and the world. However, most mages who suffer from it are not fallen, but instead become obsessed with death and mortality, at best developing a dark sense of humour, and at worst a total irreverence for human life. These madnesses are linked to paradox, and often granting small levels of them build up is a good reward for large backlashes. They should loosely correlate to the essence of your mage's avatar, but feel free to be creative and work with your storyteller to see what kind of magical insanity best suits the story of your mage. Another good way to give consequences for paradox are paradox flaws, ongoing effects on your mage due to them messing with reality. Things like a Chakravanti being haunted by the ghost they wish to control, Aetherites growing an extra gruesome limb from a cloning disaster, or an ecstatic developing an addiction for a substance they used in a ritual. This brings me to what actually happens when you have a backlash. As you might tell from the descriptions above, I'm a much greater fan of thematic consequences for paradox, rather than the damage that is part of the rules as written. I recommend either converting all backlash damage into bashing, or ignoring it entirely, and instead focusing on the much more fun and interesting flaws and direct effects that a backlash might have. I also believe that backlashes should be thematic for the effect being cast. A technocrat's laser gun should backfire. Instead of turning the target of the curse into a mouse, the Vabana should become one for a day. And the Taftani gets some ironic consequence from the misspeaking their command to the Jinn they thought was under their control. The severity should be based on the number of successes on the backlash roll, and feel free to look to fiction for inspiration for this. I like to believe that stories of Icarus, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Jurassic Park and even Voldemort are all just really stories of powerful effects gone wrong. The last and most extreme punishment for backlashes are paradox spirits. These entities are pure joy for a creative storyteller and lets you manifest a god-level NPC who often literally slaps your player across the face and screams, "Get smart, stop messing with reality." The main rulebook and Gods and Monsters have really interesting spirits to draw on here, and I recommend reading them to give you excruciating and poignant punishments for mages who push the consensus too far. Paradox is an excellent part of the game of Mage, and I recommend not using it just as a policeman for vulgar effects, but also a teaching tool for young hubristic mages, giving quiet flaws and consequences that will enhance the story you're telling, rather than simply whacking them with the lethal levels of aggravated damage. Thank you for watching this video. It came with the request of Anton Smalveski, so thank you for the suggestion, and if anyone else has any other ideas, please feel free to comment. As I said at the start of the video, I'm writing a book for Storyteller's Vault, and I'm super excited to have had so much support so far, with 2 pieces of art, 3 of the fiction stories, as well as really nice people donating art for the project. If you want to see behind the scenes and keep up to date with everything going on, and see the now complete Akashic and Hermetic sections of the book, you can sub for the lowest amount on Patreon would let me set it out, and I hugely appreciate the support. A special thanks to Saskia, Damien, Christy, Comrade Yu, Jay Sunstern and Gavin Trask for all their support. I hugely appreciate it, and every penny is going towards the creation of this book that I hope the community really enjoys. This has been the Hermetic Hipster, and thank you very much for watching.